Hi, Ellen Belmont. How's it going today?
Good,
Very good. Hi,
Trey.
Trey. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you as well. I'm so excited to chat with you both about Off Campus. First off, this will be a spoiler interview, so feel free to speak to the events of the season freely.
Mhm.
I enjoyed the season so much. I think I watched season one in one entire setting. So when it was over with, I was like, I need season two. And I was kind of upset
Yeah.
that I couldn't watch season two. So I enjoyed the series, but I was upset about that. But
Right.
I can't
I'm
wait.
sorry.
I can't wait for people to watch, especially fans of these books. I know they're just going to love this series so much. Ella, I'll start with you first. I just spoke to Louisa and I told her one of my favorite scenes from this season was I think the end of episode 7, where Hannah calls her mom and she's like, my bike. And then she just goes into this, basically thinking about everything that she's been through to get to the point where she's at right at that moment. And I think it's I've never really seen grief and trauma kind of unpacked that way, and how she kind of thinks about the guilt that she has and what that means to the people around her, and how her mom is just like, unpacks it with her and lets her know, like, there's nothing you could have done. Like, you did everything right. This was not on you. So what was it like for you specifically to bring that specific scene to life? Because I think it's one of the standout moments from the season.
Oh, that means so much to me. That was a really special scene for me to film. It felt so natural and real. I mean, I relate to Hannah kind of eldest daughter syndrome where you you want to deal with everything yourself. You don't want to ask for help a lot of the times if she's struggling with her scholarship and all of these other things that she's trying to work through, and she doesn't want to burden anyone, and she thinks she can work it all out herself. So when the bike is like this catalyst for all of the stuff that's underneath, it's really it feels very real for her to first just call her mum and be like, the problem is my bike. And that is the confusion that our mum has is
Yeah.
so real because it's like, this is what is going on, but there is clearly so much under. And that is such a beautiful moment. I was saying that Shayla, who plays my mom, got to sit in. She came in and she sat with me a few meters away, and we just had that conversation in real life versus just being on the phone, which felt so special and raw. And yeah, it was a scene I will never forget. I thought that was such a special and beautifully written as well.
Beautiful. Yeah.
Yeah, that bike was like the manifestation of the shroud that was
Everything.
back.
Yeah.
That's like
Yeah.
that was that moment. That was that moment right there. I
Totally.
realized. And Belmont, for you, how would you describe Garrett's journey? I feel like he's going on a journey this season of. I feel like so many years he's probably felt something within himself. He's kind of always used that to relate to his father. It was like, I'm thinking that he's his dad in some sort of way. And I
Yeah.
think that this season he's kind of going through the process of untethering himself from the idea that he's just going to become his father. So how would you describe that journey for him throughout the course of season one?
Yeah, I think Garrett like inherently knows that he's different than his dad in certain ways, Like Garrett is a extremely thoughtful and caring person, but that doesn't resolve his biggest fear that like he's going to end up that way regardless. Because like as a boy, like you're impressioned by the example that you have at home, and so like that's the example he had. It's the path that he's the most fearful of going down himself. Wrestling with control is a big part of how that made Garrett into a young adult, is that he needs control over everything. He's got a lot of rules that he lives by. He's extremely particular, and he thinks that if he can keep everything in line and folded nice and neatly, that like his life is going to be okay and that he's going to be okay. And so, when that type of system bleeds over into the relationship, he starts to see that this is actually creating friction in my life where I thought it was going to work for me. Then begins the undoing for him. And so, it is, like you say, a journey of Garrett finding his individuality apart from his father, becoming a man that he didn't have an example for. It's a really beautiful story for Garrett's growth into becoming his own person.
Absolutely. So I feel like I just love the journey that these characters go on through this season. I feel like it
Yeah.
just the end, the last episode, just like put everything together.
Yeah.
So thank you both so much for chatting with me. Can't wait to see season two, and I hope you enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you
Thank you
so
so
much.
Thank you.
She was
Hi,
tough.
Antonio,
How you
Stephen,
doing?
and Jalen. How are you three doing today?
Good. Good. How How are are you? you?
I'm doing great. I'm so excited to chat with you about this series. First off, this will be a spoiler interview because it won't go live until the whole season is aired. So feel free to talk
Oh,
about
great.
all of the events of the season. Don't have to worry about spoiling
Sweet.
anything because we're just talking about everything because
Okay, great.
we need to get into it. We need to get into
Yes.
it. But
Hmm.
I enjoyed this series so much. I know season two is coming, but I'm like, can I watch season two now? Like I can't just watch season one in one setting and not have season two already. Like,
Word.
so I was a bit upset about that, but I did like the season overall. So I guess Jalen, I'll start with you first.
Okay.
I think that for people who are very familiar with you from the pit, this is a very big departure in, genre, in role, and just like a little bit of everything. So for people who may only remember you from things such as, Walker, such as things like the pit, what about this show you think shows a different side of you?
That's a good question. I've never really been able to play like a comedic relief and also a I mean a college young man. But I've always been drawn and like as an actor to capture my youth on camera of like a
Mm,
YA or like the doing like firsts and becoming and all these things. And I'm an avid reader. I love YA books. I love all that. So when I first read the scripts to this, I there was just something behind them. There was just this heart that this isn't your typical type of YA show. There's just something there. And then getting on set with these guys was just a validation that this show was going to be something a little bit more than I think what it was intending to be, so it got
yeah,
elevated a little bit. So it's
yeah,
exciting. But I'm excited for people to see for me to play a younger character, especially going from Mateo to John Tucker is
yeah,
about like a 8 year difference. You know what I mean? So
yeah.
Night shift,
for sure.
baby.
Night
Night
shift
shift,
baby
baby.
as well.
And speaking of fans, this the fan base of Off Campus, they are really particular and they are rabid. They're so ready to see this show. And Stephen, for you, I would say that, the Dean and Allie fans were already like when they saw the trailer, they were like, whoa, it's a lot of Dean and Allie in this. And then when you're watching the season, it's actually, more crumbs than I feel like fans would initially expect. So given that and the explosive ending we do see to season one. How would you say that sets up your character's dynamics going into the second season of the show?
I think the way it kind of ends is it's like, well, what's going to happen between these two? You think right away. So I don't know. We haven't really read anything too much. I've gotten a couple notes here and there, but it seems like, it will kind of go into like a butting heads maybe, and then
Mhm.
we'll see kind of what happens from there. But working with Mika and when we had episode 6 was like a perfect pilot for what we're going to see, and we're just going to kind of like evolve into more of that relationship between the two of them. So that was like a nice pitch for fans to see and what's to come.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm
and
really
especially
excited because I do love the book. And I love what Louisa and Gina did. So I have so much confidence on what's to come.
And Antonio, for you, I do feel like Logan kind of goes on an arc this season of thinking about his own interpersonal relationships, whether that's family, whether that's
Yeah.
his friends, and kind of learning more not only about those relationships, but himself in the process. How do you think those lessons that he's learned about himself and others in this season will impact the way that you would hope that he would show up in season two?
Yeah, absolutely. Great question. Yeah, obviously, as we can see, he's going through a bit of a moment of battling a lot of different questions in his life. He's extremely determined. He's dependable. He almost to a fault where he's expending himself almost too much, and I feel like he's taking things too personally and too seriously, right? Like there's so many things, and he's a young guy who's figuring it out, right? Like just as we all are. And I'm excited for, in future seasons and when he starts to meet the person that's going to light up his life, to see that relief and that breath of fresh air for him is going to be really rewarding. And yeah, he's
I don't know. I love him and I care about him a lot, and I want to see him happy. You know.
I just like the way you speak, man.
Yeah, man. You need.
I feel like
I'm blushing.
I like the way you speak.
Um, but yeah, I'm excited to see him happy a little bit more. You know.
Amazing,
Yeah.
amazing. Thank you three so much for chatting with me. I can't wait for season two and to rewatch this season again. But thank you so much and enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you, man.
Thank
Thank you,
you.
man.
Have a good
Thank
one.
you. Hi, Mika and Josh. How are you both doing today?
We're doing good. How are you?
I'm doing great. I'm so excited to chat with you about this series. First off, this will be a spoiler interview, so feel free to talk about spoilers of the entire season. Initially, even when the trailers dropped, fans of Dean and Allie already clocked that there was so much Dean Allie in the trailer. And after watching this season, I'm like, this is we're really getting, kind of highlights of what could be down the road. So, given the bombshell ending to season one, how do you think that specifically could potentially, in your eyes, even though I know it's still early, how do you think that could set up the dynamics for that potential couple? There's a new person involved now. So how do you think all of that will come into play moving forward?
I think that definitely introduces a new kind of obstacle that wasn't in the books. Um, that's really interesting and feels very real to me. In the book, Allie breaks up with Sean and basically immediately starts seeing Dean. And while that's really great, and obviously people love the books and, you know, it's great. I think it's also really interesting to kind of explore this like single Allie moment and introduce other potential partners and
Mhm.
that's not really something that I guess actually that's completely ignoring your character. I was gonna say that's not something we explore in season one. So,
Yeah, go.
um, but yeah, I just think it just adds another little bit of potential drama for whenever
Yeah.
we explore that.
And Josh, for you, I, I was new to the off-campus fandom in lore. Like, I'm learning more about the books and, reading the books as I'm watching the series. And, I know that we have this couple who's, the center of the season, but, I shipped Justin and Hannah. I was like, oh, I'm like, this is the couple to root for. That, I know that, as the season went on, we did see, they were, pulled apart and, they weren't this optimal couple that I think they both thought that they would be. But
Mm.
for you, what was it like being able to explore this character? Because I feel like him and Hannah both kind of come from different ends. Like both of them kind of see the potential of this relationship, but I feel like it kind of takes them both in different directions of learning, like, oh, we may not be as compatible in the romantic or, business way that they thought.
Yeah, I think Justin just follows his heart. Like he's a lover boy. And you can see that. Like he once he sees that there could be a connection with him and Hannah, he follows that and then he wants to write music with her and help her with her music. And even after their relationship falls apart, he's still willing to be there for her and hopefully he's thinking his feelings might fade or maybe they can all become friends, which I guess was obviously a spoiler, but they can't. Yeah, I think for him, he's just following whatever feels natural and his instincts in a lot of ways.
And Mika, you mentioned, potential, book changes as we've gotten teased toward the end of this season. Josh, your character was a big book change as well because we're not seeing a athlete, we're not seeing a football player, we're seeing a musician.
Yeah.
How do you hope fans react to this change, which I think, kind of fits the material pretty decently? How do you think fans will react to that?
I hope they react good. I think, what's really special about the way that these books were adapted is it lets everyone kind of experience something new. The people that love the books, they get to see their characters in situations that they haven't seen or, read them in before, which is great. So yeah, I hope they love it.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I think going into anything where people have read it and have loved something like that, there's always that it's like when you read a book in general and it gets adapted, even if they adapted, if they don't change anything, you always have in your head like what this character looked like. But I think once people watch the show, they'll see it's re done really thoughtfully and with the best intention of the story. And I don't think anyone's going to be disappointed.
Mm-mm.
I
No.
don't think so either. I think
Yeah.
the most optimal casting, the most optimal storylines, anything that everyone would have thought in their head. I think they're gonna watch the show and be like, okay, this is maybe a little bit better than I thought it would be, or maybe
Yes.
even exceed. I think it may exceed expectations. I know it did the same for me. Thank you so much for taking time out of your day to chat with me. Can't wait to see the season again and wait for season two as well. And enjoy the rest of your day.
Yeah,
Thank you so
thank you.
much.
You
You
Thank
too.
too.
you. Have a good one. Hi, Louisa. How are you doing today?
Hi, I'm great. How are you?
I'm doing great. I'm so excited to chat with you about this series. This will be a spoiler interview. It's going to go live after premiere, so feel free to
Okay.
talk about spoilers because we got to get into it. I
Yeah.
binged season one and all in one sitting, and at the end, I was like, I need season two. Like, I need season two now. Like, I was upset about that, but I
I'm
did
so
enjoy
sorry.
the
I'm working
series.
on it.
Yes, we got to get. We need it, and I know fans are definitely going to need it after seeing this season. But I enjoyed it so much. My first question for you is, I think that sometimes things aren't always the same from books to the adaptations, and I think one of the key changes I think between the source material is the fact that the character of Justin is not an athlete; he is a musician. And honestly, for me, I was like, this fits, like this makes sense. And I feel like it progresses the story, so to speak, because she has this connection with the musician. I want to know, like, what were some of the thoughts you had initially about making this change and like how fans would feel and overall how it would impact this first season.
Yeah, it's honestly, it kind of unlocked a few things for me because it enabled me to externalize a lot of what Hannah's going through. It kind of dovetails with another change that I made, which is that Hannah is already a singer-songwriter in the book. And in
Mhm.
our show, I wanted the audience to follow her journey to get there.
Mhm.
It gives her an arc that is separate and apart from her love story with Garrett, but of course still complements it. And
Yeah.
so having her crush be on a musician makes total sense because that is who she wants to be. She wants to be confident enough to stand on stage the way Justin does. So she's not only crushing on him, but she's also crushing on his confidence.
And I don't know if you could confirm or deny this. I guess I do want to discuss it. From the trailer, immediately a lot of fans clocked like there's a lot of they said I saw on Twitter that there's a lot of Dean Alley crumbs in this trailer, and we're seeing this season. We do almost kind of get a little bit of a standalone episode, kind of devoted to them. So I want to ask, is there any context you can provide about is some book order potentially changing? Do you think we're going to see that romance a little bit sooner than it came in the books? And if you can't, just what are you excited about exploring more with that duo?
Yeah, I can't spoil that for fans just yet, but I can say that when I get to explore the Dean and Allie love story, I'm so excited about telling their story. I think that there's something very fun and refreshing about how they get together that's very different from Hannah and Garrett's, but they have their own kind of dark things to explore in their own stories while still remaining fun and optimistic and light and so beautiful. There's some fan favorite moments in their book that I'm very excited to bring to life eventually. So, yes.
Amazing, amazing. And I also want to talk about one of my favorite scenes of the series. I think it was the end of episode seven, I believe, the moment when Hannah is calling home and she's like, "Oh, it's my bike," and then she talks with her mom about everything. And I don't think I've ever seen a reframing of the guilt that comes with going through trauma and the way her mom like literally broke it down for her and was okay, like like seriously, like what, like you have no reason to feel any sort of way about what that may have done to us as a family. So what specifically was it like to bring that specific scene to the screen? Because I feel like it really affected me for sure.
Yeah, that was such a beautiful scene. When our writer Cheech Manohar, who wrote it, wrote that scene, I think I cried the first time I read it. I'm so proud of it. Um, it was always really important to us to explore a very real, journey for a survivor of sexual assault. We spoke to experts, to make sure we're doing our jobs and being responsible. And one of the things that came up was this feeling of guilt that and lack of being able to blame anybody else. Of course, there's one very real person to blame, but this person whoever's going through this, there's something very internal that happens, and the release of guilt we found to be so powerful. We also think that her mom probably has had this conversation with her many times, but Hannah is just now able to hear it, and that felt special to us too.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. Great scene, by the way. Great, I mean, great episode, but also a great scene within a great episode, within a great season. But thank you so, so much for chatting with me. Can't wait to watch the season again and to watch season two when the time comes. And I hope you enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you. So wonderful
Thank
meeting
you, of
you.
course. Thank you. Have a good one.
Bye.